Do you know what a lot of people don't love though? Mainly the Persians.
What?
Why? I love Persians.
No, I'm saying, do you know what the Persians don't love?
Oh, I thought you said, you know what people don't love? Mostly the Persians.
Mostly the Persians, what they don't love.
I don't know.
Alexander the Great.
Okay.
True.
Why?
It's true.
Because he's conquered
great.
them.
He's in the name. It's great.
Yeah, but he's also probably Nephilim.
No way.
Uh-uh.
Wait, that makes sense though.
Okay, explain to me like I'm dumb. What did Alexander the Great do?
He conquered all of Persia. He's
Okay.
from Greece or Macedonia.
Got it.
And he fought the Persians, but then went on this campaign to where he's like, I'm going to reach the end of the world. And so just started conquering all the way into India. And then basically a coup formed and everyone went back. But
How'd he die?
he died in Babylon under weird circumstances. They think he was either poisoned, but let me get to that.
Yeah, go ahead. Shoot.
So when I say Alexander the Great was potentially Nephilim or had Nephilim DNA or was somehow connected to the spiritual realm, is it starts off with his mother, who her name was Olympias, right?
Okay.
And she was married to King Philip II of Macedon or Macedonia. And he was the king of Macedonia. And just for some history, so Macedonia was north of Greece. And the Greeks treated Macedonia like how the early English treated like Scotland, like the Highlands, like they're a bunch of barbarians. They don't know anything. So King Philip II, basically the Persians were just kicking the Greeks' butts constantly. And so he united all the clans of Macedonia, rose up, went to Greece, attacked a bunch of dudes. They all formed together. And then he was about to do his campaign towards Persia, right? The Persian Empire. And his bodyguard killed him.
Oh, no.
And they believe that it was Olympias, his wife, that potentially killed him because she wanted Alexander the Great to go and do it because she believed that he was half God.
Oh.
Because her story to Alexander was that he was not the son of Philip II, but was the son of Zeus Ammon, which is basically this god that was basically Zeus and the god Ammon from Egypt, which was the god of lightning and the god of all gods, came together. The story goes that either Zeus Ammon disguised himself as a serpent to impregnate her, also could have come in the form of lightning, it said.
Oh my
So
gosh.
serpent or lightning. And so that's how Alexander the Great was conceived.
How does she know this? How did she come to this conclusion?
That's just, she's saying this is what happened to me.
Okay.
But you're not the son of Philip II, you're the son of Zeus Ammon.
Got it.
And so Alexander the Great believed he was half God, half deity, right? But the stories of this legend of what he did was just like undefeated. He was just so wise on the battlefield and was just conquering everything. And so many people were behind him. He was so brilliant. And he went into Egypt, right? And he went to this place. Where is it? They call it the Oracle. Where else? Give me a second.
I want to be called an oracle so bad.
Yeah, so
Oh, another thing. He was also taught by Aristotle.
What?
Alexander the Great, his teacher was Aristotle.
that's crazy.
Every time we talk about history, I just realize I don't know any of the timeline.
Timeline,
Me
this
neither.
would be the 300 BC
Okay.
era. Yeah.
Okay.
Where is it? Siwa Oracle. So that was this place off of, so we found it at Alexandria, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was also where the library was built, the Library of
wow.
Alexandria. And they're saying that's a connection to where he went out throughout the entire world and collected all this hidden knowledge and
Wow.
brought it back, created Alexandria, and that's where the library was formed. But he went to this oracle, and it says when he stepped in, the oracles said, welcome. They basically said, like, welcome Anon, which is the god of gods, right?
Mhm.
To them.
Yeah.
So without even knowing who he was, really, they said, welcome.
Spooky.
We know who you are.
They just knew.
Or son of Anon, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Amon.
How did they realize that?
I don't know. There are some oracles in this one part of Egypt or whatever. But even the ancient Jews and Muslims have this story of Alexander fighting the Nephilim and containing them, and because he wanted to be the one to defeat all of them.
Yeah.
And so there's this thing, it's called I believe the Alexander Romance. I have so many notes.
It's a bad romance.
Where is it? Yeah. The medieval story of Alexander Romance recounts how Alexander built a massive gate between two mountains to imprison Gog and Magog. Often it's talked about in scripture. Of
so a literal gate, like a literal prison. And so they dug down underneath the lakes.
Yeah. And I was like looking at him like, is there any chance that like, I just like went off on all these rabbit trails. Is there any chance that Alexander the Great would have known about the Watchers or the Book of Enoch or anything? And there is, because the Book of Enoch, at least the Book of Watchers, was written during the time of Alexander the Great.
Really?
And that was passed down originally through oral tradition. And then if you know anything about Alexander the Great and what he did, he was in Israel and befriended a priest in Israel who taught him things. And then he went down to Egypt and learned all this stuff.
There's no way he wouldn't have heard about it.
Right.
Gosh.
There's a very high chance that he would have known about the Watchers and this divine being presence kind of thing. But to say all that, so he went and conquered the world, right? And then when he went to India, he said that he fought these like mystical creatures and stuff, like this crazy stuff in India. But his men, they originally set out on this campaign to be like, yes, we're going to conquer Persia, right? And then we're going to be loaded, go home, buy whatever we want. But Alexander the Great's like, no, we're going to keep going. Mm-hmm. And basically the whole army was like, we're done with this. They've been conquering the world for 10 years now. So they've been away from home for 10 years. And so they finally were about to form a coup, and Alexander the Great's like, all right, we'll go back. Goes back. He's in Babylon, and then all of a sudden he's struck and ill, and then just dies. But where the crazy theory part comes into place, this conspiracy part, is they said that his body laid exactly the same and didn't decompose for over 6 days.
Oh.
And
what
then
could have done that?
They're saying that because he potentially had this Nephilim blood, whatever, kind of like how we talked about Nimrod or Gilgamesh, how they uncovered his tomb and he was perfectly preserved, right? He like didn't rot away. So they're saying this was the same scenario with Alexander the Great. And so they built him this elaborate golden casket, and they were going to bring him back to Macedonia. And on their way there, it got hijacked and went to Alexandria. And ever since then, no one knows where his tomb is.
Do you think that maybe he burned with Alexandria?
With the books?
I don't know. But there's these theories that are out there that either the Vatican is somehow involved with the stealing of his tomb.
Typical.
Or the, what do you call them? Blinken. Knights Templar.
Okay, yeah.
Interesting.
Went and stole. So a lot of this theory of stealing his body goes into the whole occult, Freemason, Rosicrucian, all that.
Nephilim
Vatican
DNA.
Yeah. Kind of like how if Gilgamesh's tomb was discovered, how the U.S. government came in and took it because he had some sort of DNA that they wanted to use. They're saying the same thing could have happened to Alexander the Great.
Wow, interesting.
These great warriors.
Yeah.
So who nowadays is that person?
I don't know.
Is that DNA still running?
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, people back in the day were doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Now
I just think it's
what are we
amazing.
doing?
We were so advanced back then, dude. The pyramids could not be duplicated today. Imagine all the knowledge within the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah. This is all complete conspiracy based too.
Yeah.
That this is like
complete
offshoot of like, because it is history, but there were really weird scenarios, true things that were said. Like his mother really did say that. He really did believe that he was related to Achilles and Hercules, the son of Zeus.
Yeah.
That wasn't uncommon though in that culture.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
But the fact that he was able to basically conquer anything he wanted. And he died at the age of 32 as well. So he was conquering all this stuff in his 20s.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. And so they're literally just on a road trip. They don't go back home. They just conquer.
Yeah.
He just has an army. And so, oh man, dude, I got to learn more about Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
I could send you some stuff. It's really cool.
I'm reading about it right now. It's insane. Like the fact that he got to that city to destroy it, and then the priest walked out and was talking to him, brought him in, and then he was like, "I'm not going to do this," and he's the one who introduced everything.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say to him?
I kind of spaced out, so forgive me if I'm like duplicating your.
Repeat everything you said.
Yeah, I was like,
the theory is that a lot of this history of Alexander the Great was written hundreds of years after his death.
Yeah,
and so a lot of it was just like oral tradition and stuff like that. But even Josephus, the Jewish historian scholar that wrote about Jesus and stuff, he wrote about Alexander the Great meeting the priest in Israel. And they speculate that Alexander the Great, knowing this background or believing that he was this demigod, whatever, that he was obsessed with understanding more of the knowledge of, you would call it the occult, but like the knowledge of the watchers.
Yeah.
And so that's why he got like this high of like, I need to explore all these places where there, in fact, still are Nephilim and learn as much as I can because I'm going to rule the world.
Yeah, it gives you power.
Well, it's like two things. The high priest said he took him to the passages in Daniel where it's talking about someone was going to destroy the Persians, and he proclaimed over him. He's like, I've met you. This is you. This prophecy is about you.
Wow.
But then combined with the belief that he was a, half god, he dove fully into all the legends and apparently was obsessed with researching. So the library, he was trying to uncover not just information, but his own history. Like he was like psycho, like believed I am him.
Yeah. It's
wild.
weird.
That's so wild.
The history of Alexander the Great is fascinating though.
I'm just trying to comprehend like that at that time. Life is so different, so much more intense, so much more serious, so much more life and death.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I just thought it was fascinating too of like just the connection of like Israel and Egypt and like the Israel thing alone to me was like really cool to see that he like went and met with this priest in Israel, and this priest was showing him like the book of Daniel and these prophecies.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that's me.
Dude, Enoch was around. He was reading the Iliad, all of this legendary stuff. Dude, it's all real and it's all connected.
I'm telling you.
Ninjas are butterflies.
Did I say ninja? I meant
butterfly. The butterfly is no doubt one of God's most